is.
Yeah.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, I am here today with Phil, the trainer. Your last name is Kemp, right?
Yes, Kemp.
Phil Kemp. I'm here. Thank you for coming on today, Phil.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. To let people get a little bit familiar with who you are and what you're about, you can just tell them real quickly what you do, where you're based at.
All right. I'm in Culver City. I'm a personal trainer for about 20 years now, and maybe 7 years since I left my job.
Okay.
To become a trainer.
Okay. Are you from LA originally?
Yes. Born in San Diego. Been in LA since 4 years old. Since about 4 years old. Yep. So this is my home. Only place I've been.
Okay. I might just need you to scoot forward. I don't know if you're on the camera. Yeah. Cool. Nice. And what made you get into training and all that stuff?
Short version. All right. Short version. I grew up with asthma, so I couldn't really be active as I wanted to as a kid. I excelled at sports, but again, because of my asthma, parents never let me play. So read a lot of books about homeopathic remedies, because going to the doctor never helped. When I was young, there was no remedy. It wasn't much studied.
Yeah.
But I ran across a couple of books around the age of 18, 19, and I came away with a change of diet and exercises. So I got into running and I gave up beef. And in that first year, made a lot of big changes and for my asthma, and after that, one thing led to another, and next thing you know, I was in the gym.
That's interesting. I didn't know that giving up beef had a relation. What's the?
Well, for me, I heard that it was a chemical in beef that inflamed the lungs, which in turn triggered my asthma. So I thought it was worth a try. You know what I mean? So sure enough, I did it, and I think the first year I stopped, I had maybe 3 major asthma attacks compared to maybe 7, 8, 9, and a bunch of minor. So it was a big enough difference to make me stick with it. And by the 3rd year, I haven't had an asthma attack since '97. I gave up beef in '94.
That's
so it's
crazy.
Just, you know,
good for you.
Right.
Where'd you first hear about that? Like,
I read a book. It was I can't remember the name of the book, but it was a homeopathic book. This was pre-internet days, so
Go to the library.
I had to do it the hard way. But again, I was determined. I didn't like, going to the doctor. Never helped. You know what I mean? Just I something in me just knew it had to be a way. So I searched it out, and here I am.
That's awesome. I always love, because even before the past 2 years, I was very much like into what I saw in the magazines for like bodybuilding, where it's just eat, it doesn't matter, you gotta grow. And the past 2 years, I got more into like the homeopathic stuff, like how do you actually treat your body with what you're putting in it. And it's amazing. I used to think that was such like, foo-foo stuff.
Right.
But it's amazing how much it actually helps. I've had so much of my own inflammation go away, just tweaking little things and paying attention to what my body reacts to. That's crazy.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So then, as a kid growing up with that asthma, I know you said it was affecting you in sports. How about just in general, when the environment you were in? What kind of environment did you grow up in?
The environment was everywhere from fun to dangerous to unlimited opportunity.
Okay.
In any direction you wanted to go. Okay. You can go bad, plenty of opportunity. You can go good, plenty of opportunity.
Okay. Yeah. Nice. And what about like the friends you grew up with? Did they tend to be more on the good side, the bad side?
Both. Because back now you don't see a lot of neighborhoods with a lot of kids, but back then, every block you go on, you had group of neighborhoods or a group of kids playing sports in the street, all the old fun stuff that come from them neighborhoods. But so it was lots of friends, and as we got older and experienced different things, you ended up on different paths. I have friends that ended up in gangs. I have friends that were able to miss the gangs. You know what I mean? I was one that got caught up in the gangs, but maybe for different reasons than other people.
Sure. Were you the same size growing up? Because you're a big guy. How much are you weigh now?
Absolutely not. I'm 220 now.
220.
Yeah, but no, I was skinny. Having asthma, I could not grow an inch. I actually didn't get over 200 pounds until 35.
Wow. And was that just putting in the work?
Yeah, putting in the work. You know, you try everything, like you say about your diet. You eat everything first, but that always results in pot belly, you know what I mean? So I didn't like that, get the weight off. So I just ate cleaner, ate more, continued to work hard, and I think it probably had more to do with my metabolism slowing down once I hit that age, 35, 36, because the weight came literally out of nowhere. I think I put on 20 pounds in a matter of 3 months, you know what I mean? So, yeah, it was different experience.
That's crazy. So then, growing up, you said you were more on the bad side. How do you end up surviving through that and getting to where you are now, where you're?
All right, let me give the story so you understand. All right, where I lived, there was a grocery store, maybe 4 or 5 blocks from where we live. My mom, would give me money to go to the grocery store, so did that, 2 or 3 times a week. So it was, neighborhoods, blocks, kids on every block. So I guess some kids from another block started noticing my patterns, you know what I mean, going to the store, you know what I mean, me being skinny, scrawny, so a couple of times they started taking the money, you know what I mean. I was a scrawny kid, it was easy, exactly. So if I don't make it to the store, guess what? We don't eat. I gotta go back and tell my mom that story, what happened, you know what I mean. So after about the second time, to me, enough was enough. So I went back to some of my other friends, older friends on the block, and I kind of talked to them, told them what happened, and it stopped, you know what I mean? And that kind of piqued my curiosity, like, wow, like, what did they do to, get it to stop? So time went on, a couple of other things happened, getting jumped for no apparent reason, you know what I mean? And anger started to build up in me, you know what I mean? The anger from not messing with nobody, not doing anything, not bothering everybody, but here I am, I'm always getting picked on, becoming the victim. So anger grew in me, and it needed an outlet, you know what I mean? And then the guys on my street didn't really get into the gangs, but the older guys over the summers, they eventually got into it, and and one thing lead to another. You hang with them a little more as opposed to hanging with my more positive friends, you know what I mean? That was what gravitated me more towards, you know what I mean? Because I wanted the protection, I wanted the not being messed with, you know what I mean, for no reason, you know what I mean? So being in the gang seemed like the way that kept you out of trouble in the beginning, but then as you move along and you learn, like, oh boy, this is getting deeper and deeper. But something else, took over. Maybe ego, maybe that bad side, or maybe that, I don't know, that will to survive in my environment. You know what I mean? Took over, and one thing led to another, and you get deeper and deeper and deeper. But it was one thing I knew about me. I always had a voice. Always had this soft, strong voice that always told me, this not going to be you forever. You know what I mean? Never understood it until years later, but I always noticed I had that voice in me that always told me, don't get used to this.
That's interesting. What do you think that voice came from? Was it like from...
It was from within, your higher self, angel. My dad passed when I was really, really young, so, could be him, you know what I mean? It could be any number of things I don't quite fully understand, but it was there, and it was strong, and it led me through safely and eventually out of it.
Yeah. The reason I had asked that was, and you answered it perfectly, was because I like to show that side, because so many people who have it easier, let's say, like to point fingers and say, oh, how do people get wrapped up in this? Like, there's no excuse for that. And like you just show, like sometimes, you know, when you're in a bad environment, like you said, you can go either way. You can go positive, you can go negative, you can go somewhere in between. But in your case, you know, I'm sure anyone in your position, you get picked on enough, like you're gonna want to respond back, and it's not easy to just sit there and take it day after, especially when there's no reason.
Right.
So I like to shine light on it, to give people some education on like what it takes to survive, and that leads right into when I like to talk about the masks we wear that help shape us. And for yours, it was like you were saying, that anger built up and then eventually led to possibly ego. It's these attitudes we had to put on a front for ourselves because we wanted to be someone else, but we had to become this other person in order to make it through those days.
Absolutely.
So that's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
What how did you, or you might still be working on it, how did you get past those masks, like the ego and the anger? How did you kind of...
A lot of reading, a lot of reading. Without the information changes, I really want to say is almost impossible. You know what I mean? Because once your ego gets a hold of you, it's so cunning and manipulative, and it's a part of you, so it knows all your weaknesses, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And without the proper information, I don't think I would have made it. Luckily, I've always loved to read. I was always a very, very strong reader ever since, you know, elementary. So one thing led to another, and I started finding particular books that piqued my interest, and, you know, and you start learning things, and it started changing you.
Did you have back then any particular books that was just like, this was my book that kind of might even help put that light in your...
Yeah, it was a book. I can't think of his name. It was written by an Indian guy. I had a friend, and from the streets, and he got into something, and he wasn't my friend at the moment, but some guys were messing with him. I came in on his behalf, helped him, and afterwards we talked, and, you know, we found out we were, you know, had some things in common, and he gave me a book he had, and book was about meditation, ego, all these things, but he told me it was such a good book. He ripped the book in half.
Wow.
He told me, you take one, I'm gonna keep the other one. He was like, I would love to give it to you, but I don't know if I'll find this book again. So I took one, and that book was the beginning of the end, and the beginning of a new change, a new me, a new person.
And how old were you when that happened?
That I was maybe 21, 22.
That's wild. That's cool.
Yeah.
It's interesting how those little moments, because I'm sure in the moment you weren't necessarily thinking this was going to become or lead to anything. You're just like, all right, he's ripping a book in half. That's cool, though. That's really cool. Because that right there, you know, that's like the domino effect of like one thing. Like, had that one incident not happened, it could have totally shaped the way the rest of your life laid out.
Right.
That's cool.
Right.
That's really cool. Well, we'll take a little break right now to play a game and change the pace a little bit. This one is going to be sounded out, so I'll hold it first, and you're going to either describe the thing you see or just make the noise of the thing, and if you're unsure what it is, just tell me to pass.
Mm-hmm.
So here we go. Mixing or DJing, scratching.
Okay, one part, not yet.
Scratch surface?
Oh, new records.
Scratch vinyl?
No, new records, not the old ones, what they are today, or what a record would be today.
CD?
The other word for it?
Disc?
Put the two together.
Scratch disc. This scratcher.
There you go.
Oh, nice.
Falling.
Nice.
You cook on it.
Stove. Hairspray.
Yeah.
Nice. Basketball dribble. Praying mantis. Godzilla. T-Rex.
There you go.
That's not bad. Not bad at all.
T-Rex, little arms.
Little arms. Yeah. All right, you'll hold it and I'll help you guess.
All right.
Let's see.
Correct is down, right?
Yes.
Okay.
They drive in circles. Vroom.
NASCAR, race car drivers.
Race car. Tilt it down.
Helicopter.
Yep. I don't know how to do this. They fly. It's a bird that flies over crops, and they're black.
Crows.
Yeah. It's gonna be so generic. They're in the woods. Yeah.
Right.
Perfect.
Horse.
Yeah.
Elephant.
In the sky.
Bombs. Airplane.
Thor is the god of
Thunder.
Yeah.
Eating.
I'm at the movies.
Slowly popcorn.
Yeah.
Helicopter spinning. Fan. Claw. Bite.
It's like a
mosquito. Snake.
Yeah.
Fangs.
Rattlesnake.
Rattlesnake.
Nice.
Very good, Joe.
Yeah. For this last round, we'll do every other one we switch.
Okay. All right. Shark movie. Eat people.
Jaws.
Yes.
This might be hard. Beep, 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 beep.
SOS.
What is that?
Telecommunication.
kind of-
Wire.
What kind of language are they using?
Digital. Electronic. Oh goodness gracious.
It was Morse code.
Morse code. Yes. Jiminy.
Cricket.
Yeah. Teapot.
What am I doing
Coffee.
with it?
Pouring.
Yeah.
Choo choo.
Train. Clock strikes 12.
TikTok. Cuckoo bird.
Yeah. First word.
Cuckoo.
And then what is it?
Clock.
Yeah.
Cuckoo clock. Roger that.
Radio.
The other word for it.
Walkie-talkie.
Yes, got it.
Nice. We did good. How did that feel?
No, it was fun.
Yeah. I like to do that. It kind of loosens people
Right,
up.
absolutely.
Changes it up a little bit.
Yeah.
That's funny. So yeah, getting back into those masks and stuff. What did it? I know the books helped shape that a lot. Even now, present day, what do you do to keep working on yourself? Or like, what are the if any, what are the masks you wear now that you're working on?
At this point in my life, 46 years old, I got all the pieces put together, whatever little things are left or negligible, and I'm pretty much on the path, you know what I mean? As I see things, I make corrections and changes, but once I started reading, I never stopped, even to this day, so I'm always, reading something, making sure I'm, staying on my path.
Sure.
Being better and positive and, serving to the people.
Do you have a top favorite book right now that you most recommend?
No, it's you can never, it's never one book, what I mean?
Yeah.
It's, from Think and Grow Rich to, spirituality to, learning about ego, so important because ego is a part of our nature, or and without the understanding, it's why so many people get lost, because we're not taught about it, we don't have an understanding about it, we accept it and we think, oh, this is just who I am, you know what I mean? But who we are evolving people. We're supposed to evolve, we're supposed to get better, we're supposed to learn what our weaknesses are and and grow, not embrace our weaknesses. We should always look to become better and continue to grow in life. Everything living grows, right?
Yeah.
Right. So we can't become stagnant.
Oh, for sure. We always got to be growing. I was reading something about how, they talk about how when people get older, there's that old stereotype that people just start they can't move as much, they can't think as much, but they're looking at the research, and it's not because, yes, things slow down as you get older, but it's not because you're just getting older things. It's because as people get older, they kind of self-fulfill that out by, I'm getting older, I'm just going to stop learning.
Yes.
They're not working anymore, they're not working out anymore.
No purpose.
But they show, and I've seen in the gym, the older guys, if you stay at it and you keep doing
great,
your limits, you wouldn't even tell, you'd think they were half the age they were. And
right.
It's inspiring to see that because it shows that you're only limited by yourself.
Yeah.
That's cool. Did you have any mentors growing up along the way that kind of helped guide you?
No.
Yeah,
You
you
know,
just had to kind of.
yeah, it was kind of like being in the gym and working out. You know, in the beginning, you see a guy with a nice body part you like. You know, I take that. You know,
Yeah.
oh, he got good shoulders. Oh, I want my shoulders to look. You know, I take that. It was same with people as I met people and men. If I saw they had good qualities, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh. I remember thinking like, oh, I want to be like that, like, oh, he was so helpful, like, people don't, I'm like, oh, that's the kind of person I want to, so I just kind of picked qualities that I thought, and then once I got into the reading, I learned, oh, I was on the right path all along,
Was it hard to kind of open up to people like that because of the background you came from where people were just kind of
Oh, absolutely. Oh,
yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
How did you work on like trusting people again?
Well, with me, I'll say I was always trusted first. Like I meet people, I give you a high level of trust, and as I get to know you, oh, can't trust, oh, you know what I mean? And you start seeing signs. So within a few encounters, you know what I mean? You can kind of start getting a feel. You use all your experience. I use all my experience, growing up in the streets to help me better read people. So I make I don't make as many mistakes when choosing friends, and because I remember all the bad qualities, you know what I mean, and good qualities and people's actions, not so much what they say. I always watch what you do, how well you hold up your word, or you know what I mean, because everybody talk, everybody say things we don't mean. So words, face value as they say, but you watch actions.
Yeah, that's so true. I always laugh when I compare myself to Alexis, my girlfriend, is because we're so opposite about that. Like let's say I entered a room full of people and I was just feeling uncomfortable, we'd go about it two different ways. She amps it up to another level. She gets more outgoing. She makes noise. Like people will know she's in a room, and that's what attracted me to her. For me, I'm the opposite. I can get to that point, but me, if I don't know the area and I don't feel comfortable yet, I'm very much like I'm gonna assess what's going on. I'm going to read people, like you said. I take the experiences I knew growing up, like, oh, how does he interact with her? How does he interact with him? And why is that going well? Why is that not going well? All this stuff I do in like microseconds because I got so used to doing it.
Yes.
And then by the end of it, I could read like, all right, he's probably going to be cool to talk to. He seems a little full of himself. She seems cool. So we're very different. So it's funny to see how people, based on how they were raised, and that's why I like to look at how they grew up on how they handle communications now. Because one of the other big things I want to kind of shine a light on with the direction of this podcast is kind of giving a voice to the people who kind of like in your situation where they got picked on a lot, or they had a story to tell and no one gave them a shot. People that either got walked on or just misunderstood. I guess that's the word I'm looking for, because I noticed that's who I tend to gravitate to. I gravitate towards the people who you could tell deep down they're a really good person, but they might have just went through some stuff, so that's why they look like that asshole or that person that you're like, that everyone else I see saying, oh, don't talk to that person, they're rude. And I just give them that 5 minutes of attention that no one's giving them, and they realize like, wow, we're both cool people. So.
You got it.
Yeah. And I feel like that goes into this feeling that we're not good enough. That's a big thing, that's especially in this society with social media and everything. Everyone has some version of not feeling good enough. Why do you think that is?
This is California. This is home of the ego. This is home of selfishness, and you know what I mean. Me, I'm a touchy, hands-on, huggy person, you know what I mean, man or woman, because I know, like, we lack attention. We lack, we only care so much about ourselves that we don't give, attention to each other anymore, you know what I mean? And it's a real problem, you know what I mean? It really is. There's no more love. It's only self-love, you know what I mean? You only care about what you're doing, how you can benefit. Nobody cares. Well, how can we both benefit? That's how everything should be. It should be, how can we both, not you benefit more, not, and by benefit more, meaning just if we both happy, then it should be good, but somebody always want a little bit more, you know what I mean? And people that have financial success without a struggle don't they use their finances to feel better than what maybe they really are. You know what I mean? Because you got this or this, that, you feel like you can step on, or you feel like your worth is more than, you know what I mean, somebody that don't have as much as you know what I mean? And that's probably what I've learned when I watch is what I see as the biggest problem. So I like to treat everybody equally. I like to put everybody on a even playing field. And, you know, even when I deal with my clients that, you know, feel like that, after we get to know each other, I can talk to them and kind of bring them down and get them to see, like, you know, nobody's better. Like, we all, you know, especially if you're not helping nobody, then you're really not better for the planet. You know what I mean? Because you only care about yourself. You know what I mean? Where the planet cares about everything. When you look at the whole process, how it works is, you know, one thing feed another like a big machine. But, you know, here we are in an age where we breaking away. You know what I mean? We breaking away from what we need, which is care and love and all those words people may think is corny, but it's the reason why it's so much negativity, because there's not enough love and care, you know what I mean, amongst us.
Yeah. They say your net worth is your network. So it's how are you helping other people? They even say the keys to success are, they call it autonomy, which is just having the control to do what it is that makes you happy. Connection, that's like you were saying, being hands-on, we're getting so disconnected, and it's being able to meet and be social and be able to have friendships and long-lasting connections. And then purpose, this is probably the most important one. It's what are you doing? Like you said, it's a planet. What are you doing to give back to everyone else? Because if you're just making all this money for yourself and stomping on people in the process, then what good is that?
Right.
So that's huge. That's very huge. What about like pressure and stuff? How do you deal with being under pressure?
I was always really, really good under pressure. It was, you know, just natural. You know what I mean? I don't know. I never knew how to explain it. Any situation that I was in, I always felt a very strong calm come over me in those moments of, you know, heavy pressure. Like, you know, so strong that even while it's happening, I can question, like, what is this? Like, why am I getting so calm? You know what I mean? I can have this conversation with myself, but I feel it, and I don't know how to explain it, but that's how I dealt with it. It come easy for me, pressure.
Cool. Well, it's time for another break, for another game. We'll get into it. This one will be similar-ish, but it'll be with, we'll go with animals on this one. So same thing, either make the noise or act it out, and we'll see how it goes.
Revenant.
Oh, bear.
The type of bear.
Grizzly bear.
Yes. Single leg bird. Stand on one leg. Pink. Roof.
Dog.
All right. Live in an open field.
Prairie dog?
Yes. In the soil, fishing hooks. You put them on a fish hook, catch fish. Creepy, long-legged.
Caterpillar.
Make webs.
Oh, spider.
Not a mongoose.
Ferret.
Oh, the other word.
Muskrat.
The family that they in.
I don't even know. I'll skip it.
Okay. All right. Big feathers in the peacock. The other one was a weasel.
I would guess that. Yeah. Nice. Let's see how many I got there. 5. All right. Yeah. They fly around dead animals.
Buzzards. Vulture.
Yeah. They copy what you say.
Parrot.
Yeah. A little baby. Meow, meow.
Kitten.
Yep. It's a majestic bird. It's the country's bird.
Eagle.
Yeah.
Bear.
Nope.
T-Rex.
Yeah. It's like a little lizard. They do commercials.
Gecko.
Yeah. Oh man, perfect. Ooh, skip that one. I don't even know how to.
Oh, I should say no.
It's like a pelican. I don't know how else to describe, but more I think like Asian cultures. There's even
peacock.
There's even a when they're constructing, they call
Dragon.
they use this machine.
Crane.
Yeah. Ooh, that was a hard one. Yeah, I was like, how do I describe that? Let's see how we did here. Damn, 8.
All
Yeah,
right,
8.
good job, Joe.
Nice. All right, last round. We'll switch on and off.
All right, longfish, not an eel, shark teeth that deal in the water between the rocks. They come out and back.
What is that? Not an eel? That's all you're looking for that.
Skip. Oink oink.
Pig.
Belittle, furry.
Oh my gosh, what are those called? Piglet.
Hamster, but
I'm doing so good.
I'm gonna choke you on this one. Guinea pig. Bee.
Other one.
Fly.
Yep. Switch again.
Oh.
I forgot to switch.
Oh, slug.
Sloth?
Shell on his back.
Oh, snail.
Yes.
They're at the beach. It's a bird.
Seagull.
Yep.
Honeybird. Leather thing on their head. They keep them on the arm.
Hawk.
No, falcon.
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 What was that other one? The pig.
Guinea pig.
Guinea pig.
Guinea pig.
See, I wasn't thinking tumors. I was thinking like just a baby pig. I was like, what's
yeah. Guinea pig.
Nice.
Furry one.
Nice. So going back into that vulnerability, how do you? This could either be advice you have for people or stuff you did to work on it. How do people, or how did you work on being more open and showing who you truly are and letting go of those masks of anger and ego?
Yeah. Okay. My mom always taught me when you air things out, you know what I mean? The quicker you get them out, nobody can ever hold anything over your head. You know what I mean? So the more things you hide, you know what I mean, the deeper you hide. You know what I mean? So I learned that at an early age, like if I just talk about it, no matter how embarrassing it is, no matter how ego crushing or ego destroying it is, you know, and after a while it just became funny, my embarrassing moments, which would be shameful moments for most people, but I learned to laugh at it, like it's funny because none of us are perfect. We all got some messed up things or been through some stuff, but so why are we acting like we don't? You know what I mean? Why you acting like you perfect or like you don't go through stuff? Like, get over that. Like, we all go through stuff, I'm like, here go my moments, and I talk with my clients and we crack up laughing. They be like, you are crazy, but, it's true. We all go through stuff. I know you got stories too, we all do, And that's the way I deal with it.
That's actually such a good point you brought up. And that's like the whole like soul of what I'm trying to figure out, even for myself, is we were going back to how we say like we read people when we enter a room, and that's the best way for that person to be vulnerable and be real, and for other people to be more accepting of you, because if they see, like you said, everyone's got something, and if anything, the more I show you my embarrassing moments, the stuff I'm most afraid to hide, the quicker you're going to be to open up to me and be like, he's a real dude.
Right.
So it's so funny that there's such a positive outcome to that, yet we're all so afraid to
express it, right? Yeah. Crazy.
So that makes me think like the actual step there is every day tell at least one person an embarrassing moment. That's what everyone should do. That's what everyone needs to do.
I like
that. What would I call that the dancing in the mirror moment? Like, what do you do when no one else is watching? That shows who you truly are. What is your dancing in the mirror moment? What do you like to do when no one's watching and you're just being you aside from the reading? What's your silly thing?
It could be whatever I may be feeling in that moment. Like, whatever that feeling is, like, I get it out and then, you do a quick look around, like, did anybody see me? But, whatever it may, nothing specific, but whatever, it could be a dance, you know what I mean? It could be, it could be a jump up and click my heels, like any random thing. It's very random, but I absolutely have those moments.
That's awesome. That is really awesome. And how do you, with that fun, how do you balance the work and the play? How do you make sure you have a nice blend of both?
Just like you said, I make sure I have a nice blend of both. Like becoming a trainer, one thing I did, like once I knew I might be interested in it, I started listening to complaints of all the trainers. You know what I mean? I listened to kind of what everybody said, and one thing I noticed, everybody was business, business, business. Get in for an hour, get out, you know what I mean, in your hour, you know what I mean? And I didn't want to be like that. I want, you know, don't mix friendship with business, but when you're dealing with mature people and you're not dealing with manipulative and sneaky people, I've never had that problem, you know what I mean? So, you know, it's real open, you know what I mean? We talk about everything, we laugh, you know, we work out, we train, you know what I mean? We enjoy the moment, you know what I mean? And sometimes it's quiet, hard work, you know what I mean? But also, they know if you in the giggly, happy mood, well, in between sets, we're gonna giggle and laugh and talk about whatever's making you feel good. So I just try to keep it, you know, not so business like, you know, do this, do that. All right, get up, you know what I mean? No, let's relax a little bit. You know, let's get to know each other. Let's open up and, you know, and I like to create just that family environment where, you know, you can come here and everything is all right. You know, there's no punishment for being late. There's no, you know what I mean? It's, you know, hey, it's all right.
Do you have any, what's the word? Like any tricks or things you implement to like get people to come out of their shell a little more? Because I'm sure some people show up and just
so many tricks. Everybody's different, but you know, everybody's different. You know, with, you know how we are, you read people, so, you know, as you learn them, you know, I'm like, okay, I'm learning, like, you know, then once I see how they are, then I'll start implementing my little positive manipulations.
That's cool. In general, with that personal training, how did you even, because you run your own personal training facility and clients, how did you build that up? Because that's not an easy thing to get into. Especially
hardest thing ever. Oh wow, it was a struggle. I mean, all your worst fears, I experienced them. You know, leaving your job after 9 years, not to mention an awesome job. Well, you know, far as benefits and everything goes.
Steady.
Yeah, steady. You know what I mean, and starting over. And when I say the worst of the worst, it was a point where gas hit $5. I don't know if
I remember that.
That was my destruction. Got evicted, you know, had 3 daughters, you know what I mean? You know, got family, so, you know, but I mean, who wants to experience that, right? But not only that, you know, got evicted in the middle of the school year that my daughter was going to graduate. You know what I mean? So all my family in Lancaster, so I couldn't up and, you know, leave, you know what I mean? So I had to find a way to keep them here just to get them, you know what I mean? And it was rough, but, you know, one thing I learned from all my readings, like, you're not the only one. You ain't the only one that had to experience this. You know, everybody that got great success, not everybody, but a lot of them, they've been through this, you know what I mean? And that would give me inspiration when I get into my reading, and I would read, you know, oh, he was homeless and didn't, you know, but he believed in his dream and he stuck with it. And, you know, I had a good supporting cast, and you know what I mean? And I stuck with it. Because when I left Gardena, I had to rebuild. When I came to Culver City, I had to start from scratch. And it was 2 or 3 years in there where it just wasn't no money flowing, you know what I mean? Just, you know, enough to eat, enough to, you know, you got to come up with, you know, everybody, oh, charge this much, you know, but I'm doing that, but nobody's coming. Everybody, you know what I mean? So it's not adding up, you know, you can't charge too little, but, you know, but they coming.
That's how it's for me. They're like, oh, you should be charging double that, triple that. I'm like, who's paying that money?
Right. I can't find them. Right. So, you know, you go through the process and, you know, you figure out a way and you try different things and you find something that works and you don't be afraid to stick with it, even when, it's against the norm. You know what I mean? And that's what I did. I found a fair and honest price point. You know what I mean? Because I'm not going after the wealthy. I'm not looking for the 65. You know what I mean? I'll take the people that's willing to do the work and stay committed. You know, at the lower price. Let's do that. You know what I mean? And in return, I get more and more clients. Like my other friends, they may have 6, 7, 8 clients, and then they wonder, well, how you got 18? How you got 20 clients? You know, it's price point, but you got your own philosophy. You know what I mean? But you have to try everything and not be afraid to find out what work and not be afraid to go against the norm. You know what I mean?
So that was, you said 2 to 3 years for you to build that up
to build up. Well, that was just
that's just
to build up trust. You know, to build up trust. The people, you know what I mean, to get them a little more open and, you know, to start coming to me and, you know what I mean. And after that, you know, it's still a long haul. You still got a long way to go. You got to build a name. You got to build a reputation. You have to build, you know, your brand, as they say. You know what I mean? And that stuff take time. You know, not everybody don't have that. Everything you touch turn to gold. I didn't have that. You know what I mean? Everything I had to really, really work for. You know what I mean? So, you know, but am I happier? Like I even knowing how it's going to be, I wouldn't go back to my job because I was getting miserable there. The last 3 years was miserable, you know, coming home, attitude, being mean to my daughters when that's not even me.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like,
it's another mask you put on.
Yeah, another mask.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I like that you brought that up too, because I think it was Jim Carrey that said it, but he was talking about how that exact thing where it was like, yeah, you can take that safe job, you can do it for years and never have to worry about money again. But if you're not happy doing it and it's not serving you, then it's just as bad as you going for what you love, but maybe struggling. Yeah, you're struggling, but at least you're loving the process versus hating it. So nothing's worse. Yeah. And then you could still, even if you're doing that safe job, you could still get fired. You could still something go wrong. And nothing's worse than not doing what you're happy with and losing out on that. That's when you get real sour. That's when you start resenting, and like you were saying, how you start snapping back at people and all that. So that's wild.
Yep.
How do you get your clients now? Is it mostly referrals?
Yeah, word of mouth. Mentor, trainer, he always told me, so 95%, he was like, you don't have to go out and rush out and get cars. He was like, 95% of your clients is going to come from word of mouth. And it's true. You know, I never had to, you know, get out there and, you know, passing out cars to everybody. I mean, I couldn't do that anyway. You know, come and see me.
Yeah, it's such a weird
weird feeling. So just patience and courage and persistence and, you know, just being able to take the sacrifices, you know, like I've been riding my bike for 7 years, so much so now, like when I get in the car, it becomes stressful. So it just makes me say, you know what I mean? I'd rather save the money, you know, car note, gas, insurance. I'm saving. You spend it, I'm saving. And I'm fine with it, you know. Yeah, woo. I don't want to think about that one. That was the beginning of the end.
Yeah. That's cool that you persevered though. That's really, really admirable. How did you, when you're in that, when you're at the worst of the worst and you know that there is the light on the end of the tunnel, you just got to persevere. How do you stick with it when so many others would be like, I'm done, I can't handle this anymore, I got to back out?
That's what makes me different. Like something triggers in me when you tell me I can't do something or you believe it can't be done. If whatever another human done, I can do. So if other people did it, I'm not gonna go back to the miserable life. I know myself, I don't like being told what to do. I don't like the attitude of people and you telling me I gotta deal with you for 20 or 30 years. You know what I mean? If it's not, you know, if it's a happy job and I like it and I'm fine with it, absolutely no problem. But I didn't have a job like that. The beginning was fun, but I reached a point where, you know, I started getting like everybody else. I always said I didn't want to be like them. All those guys was miserable. They were the meanest, like, you know, 80% of the job miserable. That's not a good sign. That didn't make sense to me. You know, if I'm gonna be miserable, or I'm like, I'd rather struggle and be happy, you know, because it equal the same. And not only that, it's unlimited what I can do in fitness, but here, I'm at my limit. So I gotta stay, you gotta keep me stagnant for 20 years? Nah. Nah.
That's a good thing to keep in mind for anyone that's listening that is either playing it safe right now, not happy, or afraid to just take that jump. Go off what Phil just said there. Especially if you're at the bottom of your bottom, you're thinking of going back. Put it in perspective. If you go play it safe where some of you are not happy, can you deal with that for the next 20 or 30 years? Is that 30 years of unhappiness going to be better than this 2 to 5 years of suffering right now? That's what you got to really balance out. That's really cool.
Absolutely. And trust me, it's worth it, because even the hours I work, how you work that much? It's true what they say. When you love what you do, it's not work. It don't bother me to be there 16 hours. Like, I'm happy. But 8 hours at my job compared to 16 hours, I'd rather do my 16 here than 8 hours, every day, being miserable and unhappy. You know what I mean? It's not worth it, and it destroys your body. So,
for sure. Yeah. What about what's in store for your future? Do you have any other goals you're shooting for right now? Anything else you're trying to work on?
Right now it's still getting the bigger half. Everything I want to do is in fitness. You know what I mean? All my dreams, all my ideas. You know what I mean? So every year, progress. You know what I mean? So just stay focused and stay on the path like I've been doing. And as things unfold, it's hard to put a time limit on things because so I just do everything I need to do to make sure the pieces fall in place. And when the opportunities present themselves, I try to be there and ready.
Nice. Final question I like to end it on is finding that aha moment. What was your aha moment or your breakthrough moment to finding the real you that you wanted people to see?
When I got into enough embarrassing moments with my ego. You know what I mean? That, your ego think you know it all. And, if somebody show you something in black and white right in front of your face, that's probably, just think of fighting for something you believe in with all the passion, and then you get proven wrong. Yeah. That's like you know what I mean? And after 3 or 4 of those, I was like, enough. You know what I mean? Whatever this voice is that makes me so cocky, you know what I mean? Your end is coming. You know what I mean? And and that was it. It's just those embarrassing moments, you know what I mean? Okay. And from then on, my mind was completely open. I didn't debate my opinion. I debated to lift my opinion. You know what I mean? If we're going to have a discussion and talk, I want to know what you could teach me. You know what I mean? Not so much just getting my point across. You know what I mean? I want to get my point across and want you to debate it so that I can come to the truth. You know what I mean? That's what I always want to look for, the truth.
Perfect. If people want to get a hold of you, or maybe they want to train with you in the LA area, is there a best way to reach you?
Oh yeah, email bodiesbyphil@gmail.com.
Okay, there you go. Phil, thanks for coming on,
thanks
man.
I
really appreciate it. Had some real good nuggets of gold here, and I think people have a lot of good takeaways from here.
Awesome.
Really good perspective on things. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe.